Hello everybody, welcome to Truth Me Free. My name is Nathan Wheeler. This is video number 6 of a web series called My Testimonial. If this is your first time seeing any of my videos, please press pause now and go back and watch all the other videos that lead up to this one, number 6, prior to watching this. It's going to do two things. It's going to save you your time, and it's also going to keep you from being very confused and wondering what in the world I'm talking about. It's also very important that you go through the series in its totality. Do not fast forward, do not skip ahead, because otherwise you're just not going to understand some very important things that come at the end of this testimonial series, which obviously will reference the videos before it. If you've gotten to the point where you've watched all the other videos and you're meant to be here at video number 6, well, welcome. To jump right in, this is the season I'm kind of nicknamed in the testimonial series the Dark Forest, and I call it the Dark Forest because it's the time that I kind of got so fed up with just religion in general. If you watch the other videos, you'll understand that I decided to chase every rabbit hole, spirituality, I could possibly find. And some of those holes led to some very dark places. And I just want to kind of touch upon that as quickly as I can. First thing, as I began to study other spiritual forms, one of the things I began to do a lot was chanting and oming. Kind of really beginning to understand rituals, and that led into paganism. I feel that there are a lot of spiritual paths and religions that lead back or trace back to paganism. So as I began to do chanting and incense burning and understanding power objects, and I'll give you an example real quick of power objects. Let's say that I took a rock and I held this rock in my hand when I meditated or when I did something, prayed or something like this. And I would charge, if you will, with my positive energy, my loving energy, this rock. And the reason I would do such a practice was, let's say that one day I got into a situation where I was full of fear, or I hadn't slept very well, I hadn't been eating very well, and I felt spiritually attacked, or I just felt depressed in life. I could take this rock that I had charged with love or energy, positive energy, and I could draw that energy from it. And I could just focus on that rock, and it would fill me with the energy or supply me with enough energy to kind of bring me out of my negative state. Some people don't believe that this is possible, but I can testify that I had these experiences with such a thing as a rock, and it did work. Other things that might resemble a power object would be symbols. For instance, if I were to say 4-leaf clover, you might immediately think of a leprechaun or Irish or St. Patrick's Day or something along these lines. An image or a symbol will immediately reference an idea. Sometimes it will also reference an ideal. For instance, the rainbow, sometimes a rainbow in today's modern world will reference the gay community. The swastika, if I said swastika, people will automatically usually think of the Nazi Party or Hitler and Germany. But originally the swastika was a positive, a good luck charm or symbol, just like the 4-leaf clover. But mankind charges these symbols. We give power to these symbols. They don't mean anything until human psyche or the global consciousness or our local consciousness or even a single individual gives that image power. I believe that that in my paganistic study, my New Age study, there is a belief that mankind are gods in of themselves, and that if they remember their truest nature, which is the part of themselves that is one with the one all-living life force, the universe, that they themselves actually can become consciously gods. And a lot of New Agers will draw from a passage in the Bible where it actually says, "Do ye not know that you too are gods, or also gods," and so forth. And so it only confirmed to me that, there is this ability for man to become godlike. I don't think that man can become the God that created all things, but man can become godlike, let's say. So as I studied all these things, you could say that it was in pursuit of finding my godlike nature, my oneness with the almighty, growing, ever-living universe, the oneness of all living things that are and are not in all realms that we can see and cannot see. Does this make sense? So as I delved into the rabbit holes that might possibly lead to me finding this true self of mine, I went down such things as witchcraft and paganism, and it led me to Wicca, which is more of a positive form of witchcraft. And of course, being a male, that would lead me also to warlock practices. And I did do spells. I casted a few spells, and one of them actually was on a girlfriend that I dated for about 2.5 years. I don't say this to promote casting spells on people. I will give you a brief story. This girl that I liked, I courted in high school for 3 months every single day, and she really never paid too much attention to me. She never really showed signs that she liked me. Well, I was beginning to read witchcraft and Wicca, and I came across this spell, if you will, that would cause one to help fall in love with me, all right? And so I did this spell, and I noticed that all of a sudden, shortly thereafter, this girl began to show me some attention in that fashion. And so I looked at the spell again, and I was like, wow, this is working. And I realized that I had made kind of an error, or did something a little bit wrong in the spell. So I redid it the correct way. And now all of a sudden, this girl seems really interested in me, and we start dating. We dated for 2.5 years. Very long story short, just the part that you need to know. About 2 or 3 weeks before our relationship ended, she found the spell. And it wasn't the reason why we broke up, but I could tell it definitely creeped her out. And ironically enough, after she saw the spell, like I said, shortly thereafter we started having issues, and shortly after we started having issues, we broke up. And I believe that the fact that she had seen the spell broke it. I gave up casting spells on people or things, or just doing spells in general, way before she ever found it. I actually forgot about the spell. I kept it in my wallet underneath a picture of her, because that was part of it. You had to have a picture of the person. And you know, I didn't want the 3 times. There's a saying in witchcraft that whatever you do, it will come back to you 3 times fold. You know, some people might say, oh great, well then, you know, cast a spell where you're blessing somebody, and, you know, bless for them to have $1 million and you'll get $3 million. That's not exactly what it means. I didn't want any kind of karma coming back to me. I felt that any kind of spell was manipulating people, and that didn't really vibe with my personality. I didn't really like the idea of casting spells. Although unfortunately, and I say unfortunately because you know, this one spell that I did with this girl, she never really loved me, and I knew that the whole time. I knew that I was kind of just this guy she dealt with, you know. I was just that guy she dated until probably something better came along. So that was that. But yeah, I was done with spell casting. I thought that was just kind of evil and manipulative, and that wasn't my vibe. Not something I dug with. I ended up getting into all sorts of other things. I talked about the power object, symbolisms, using symbols, using focal points, which could be a symbol or an idea. I eventually began to even experiment with some very, very dark things. So let's get into that real quick before we get into my stories. Some of the things that I delved into was the Ouija board. If you guys haven't messed with a Ouija board, good, don't. They are truly evil things. I know they may say a toy company on them and say it's just for entertainment purposes, but the Ouija board is a legit thing. Whether it actually legitimately comes from an ancient practice or not is irrelevant. As I said, humans give energy, they give belief, they give power to things, and Ouija boards absolutely do evoke spirits and demons and so forth, and you do not want to mess with them. Even if you think it might be cool to test that out, don't. I'm going to tell you why. I was messing with a Ouija board in my bedroom. Now, I need to tell you something about my bedroom. It was a very large bedroom from the time that I was 16 to about to like 17 and a half, 18 years old. You could fit like couches in this room. It was really big. And point being is that me and my buddies, you know, when they came over to yoga or tai chi or qigong or meditation or chanting or anything like that, we could do it in my room, and it was just our own space where we wouldn't be bothered. And basically we charged my room full of positive energy over the course of these 2-3 years doing this. And people who were not spiritual individuals would walk into my bedroom and be like, whoa, like, Nathan, your room is just full of energy, like positive energy and love. I can feel it. This is very interesting to me. I want to hear about these spiritual practices that you do. Well, even though we had done that, as I got later on, after everything that you heard in video number 5, after dealing with the major religions, and then I jumped into anything I could find, I opened up some bad things. I also had a buddy, the same buddy I had mentioned in the other videos, who was my spiritual buddy. We did our spiritual practices together. He began to read the Satanic Bible. And as he began to read the Satanic Bible, he said that he actually did the ritual where you give your soul to Satan, except for at the very end where you say, I give my soul to you know who. He never said that part. He never did that part. But he said that while he was doing it, he began to experience some crazy things. And he said that after doing it, even though he didn't go fully through with it, he still continued to experience some crazy things. And it kind of gave him some concern. But it also perked his interest quite a bit, because it was further proof that the spiritual realm was real. He was one of those people who didn't believe in anything until he could experience it, or see it, touch it, feel it, that kind of thing. Even more so than me, because I had experiences, so I had that level of faith already. So basically we got to the point where, I had done partial of the ceremony to do it as well. And you create an image with salt, and then you get like a bath or a pool of water and a double-edged sword, some candles. I'm not going to tell you all the details, but just for those of you who have read it, you know that I obviously know what I'm talking about in those hints. But I never actually went all the way through with it. However, all of a sudden, shortly thereafter, the Ouija board and this experience, I began to hear this noise in my bedroom at night while I was sleeping. Now, take a grocery bag and just crumple it up. That noise is the exact noise I heard in my bedroom one night while I was just laying down to go to sleep. I turn off the light, and all of a sudden, right at my feet. It sounded like a rat or a mouse running over a grocery bag. So I immediately turn on the light and try to find this, rats running across the ground. Nothing was there. I had some clothes on the ground. I was a teenager. Most teenage boys, they just throw their clothes on the ground. So, I thought, okay, well, now it's hiding in the dark. I'm probably scared if I turn the light on. I turn the light back off, and I hear the sound again. Very long story short, I cleaned my entire room. I tried to find this plastic bag. I could not find it anywhere. The light goes out, and the noise kept going on and going. I mean, clear as day, as you are hearing me now. So there was nothing in my room. I had cleaned the room spotless. No bag to be found. Later on, I did some research, and I found out that noise is a spiritual porthole for demonic things or spirits to come in and out of. So I basically turned my bedroom into an elevator. I mean, there was just things coming in and out all the time, and you could hear footsteps of things walking across my room. It was super creepy, super crazy, and I was already having enough spiritual experiences with demons and spirits and ghosts and things like that this just heightened it and literally made I felt like my bedroom had become the lobby for Hotel California for ghosts. It was horrible. I told Dan and my other buddy about this, who were involved in kind of my spiritual stuff, and they wanted to come over one night, spend the night to see it for themselves. So they did, and as we were kind of just hanging out, meditating, all of a sudden we heard noises in the kitchen. We heard footsteps walking down the hallway. We'd open up the door, and there would be nobody in the hallway, nobody in the kitchen. We even ended up going and looking for it, and one of my friends, not Dan, but the other friend, he ended up seeing it in my little brother's room. And that's actually an extremely funny story. I call it the ghost story, and I hope to actually turn it into a movie one day. So I don't want to give you guys too much details about it, but it's super, super funny. It's probably the most funny thing I've ever even heard in my life, and it happened, which only makes it more funny. Point being, though, is that, other people had witnessed, heard these things, and so forth. So there was other people who knew that this had happened. I don't think that I ever found a way to close this properly. And so it kind of just stayed there until we moved. So I feel kind of bad for whoever moved into that house after us. Hopefully nothing too bad ended up happening with them. And if it did, I hope they found a way to close all that up. This is what I mean by the dark forest. These are the things that I began to delve into. And as you can see, they're just not good things. But the important part for it happening was that I learned them to be true. They are indeed real. So do not meddle with these things. There's just no point for it. Now, for the rest of this video, I'm going to explain some other things, and they're going to be kind of complicated. I'm going to be as fast as I can, and I hope I don't lose you. I'm going to also describe to you a concept, and before I describe that concept to you, you need to understand why I'm telling you this concept. I'm telling you because if you've ever heard of a magician called David Copperfield, he's a guy who like made an entire train a cabin disappear in front of like a live audience and so forth. He's a magician in Vegas kind of guy. And you know, the thing is about magic is that it's very magical, and it's hard to believe that it's fake until you learn how it's done. Because if you saw magic done and nobody told you that it was a trick, and somebody said, well, I'm a prophet of God, or I'm this person who I'm connected with God, I will prove it with this magic. And they do a magic trick like make a train disappear in front of your eyes. And you're just like, you have to be connected to God. You must be connected to God, because nobody can just make a train car disappear like that in a second. So I'm going to tell you the next part of all this, and up until the end of video number 7, because I want to reveal to you the magician's trick. It's very important that you have that in your mind as you hear the things I'm telling you. There is real magic in this realm. There is real magic that can be done, and I'm going to basically tell you how it's done. I'm not going to teach you how to do the things, but I'm going to teach you how it's possible. So that's what the rest of this video and the rest of video number 7 are going to describe through scenarios. But first I must describe a concept to you. And I need you, this is where I was going to use illustration, guys, but my illustrations were so bad that it's just ridiculous. So I'm not going to even try. So I'm going to just describe it to you, and I hope that your imagination and my ability to articulate it will work. I want you to imagine that at the moment of your birth, that there is the angel of life and death. Same person. Let's call him Death just for the sake of this scenario or this description. So the angel of death comes and he says to your soul, I'm going to give you life, and you're going to have 100 units of life energy that I'm going to give you at the moment of your birth. Now, when you die, I'm going to take those 100 units back. They're going to be my units. They're my energy. It's the universe's energy. Energy doesn't die, but your energy that makes you up will come back to me, and then I'm going to recycle it back into the universe. Whether that means I make a daisy grow in a field, whether I produce an apple on a tree, or whether I put that into a star and you help light that star for a second. Whatever it is, your energy won't die, but it will come back to me, and you, what makes up you, will no longer be. Okay, so let's just role play that this is the scenario of what happens. Okay, now, in order for you to hold this 100 units of life force, life energy, there has to be a container, let's say. And let's say that that container is not your physical body alone. So just try to picture this with me. I'm trying to be metaphorical here. So imagine your human body has a bubble around it. Maybe it's in the shape of an egg. It gets a little bit narrower at the top where your head is, and it gets a little wider at the base and then comes back down towards maybe, let's say, your knees, okay? Now, this egg shape is also what I believe some people say is an aura, okay? Like the light, the energy field. I believe all things have a magnetic energy field to it. For instance, it is, according to science, if you were to put a human body in outer space, and 1 foot away from the human body, you put a tiny dust speck. Now, over the course of a certain amount of time, that dust speck, even though it was completely still, and there was no momentum, between the human body and the dust speck, eventually the gravity of the human body would move the dust speck to it. So the dust speck would move to the human body because of its gravitational field. Okay, now, this also, I believe, is something that when you open up spiritually, you can actually see in a way. And the way I would say that you see it is in what is called your mind's eye. I'm sure you guys have all heard that term before, whether you're a New Ager or not. You've also heard of the third eye. So the third eye is a symbol of something that goes right here, like a third eye on the forehead here. Basically, when your third eye is open, it means metaphorically that you're able to perceive the world not just in the physical realm, but also in the spiritual realm. And I believe that through meditation and different practices, such as the ones I've described through the video so far, that this actually will happen and you will begin to perceive things. Mine got a little out of control because I couldn't control whether I wanted to see something or not wanted to see it. I was going to see it either way. And that was bad because I thought I was losing my mind. I need to explain to you briefly how this happened though. My dreaming was my religion. It was my church. So every night that I went to sleep, whatever happened in my dream was how I learned more about the spiritual realm. I would meditate into sleep. And while I was in my sleep, I had a teacher who was there waiting for me. And the teacher would coach me and teach me about things that I could do spiritually. And I would practice them first in the dream world. And then when I woke up, I would practice them in this reality. And, well, let's just say that eventually I got to the point where I would fall asleep in this realm, I would wake up in the next realm, and I felt as though I never went to sleep. My mind was 24 hours a day completely conscious. And so for about 6 months, I felt like I didn't get a single wink of sleep. And that caused me, in what I believe, to feel as though I was hallucinating all the time. I was seeing things all the time. Yet I was getting sleep. If you saw my body or you had me hooked up to monitors, you would think, oh, he's sleeping just like any normal person, except that my spirit wasn't getting good sleep. Now, sometimes I would have out-of-body experiences. I would do astral projection. I'll get into that at the end of this. But let's start with out-of-body experiences. As I dreamed, as I said, I would wake up in the other dream world and it would go a total of, let's say 16 hours, just like what happens in this world. So I would wake up, I'd get out of my bed, I would go and do my routine, I would meet up with somebody or I'd go to school, but it would all be in a dream world. And then I would go back home and lay down in my bed and fall asleep. And as I fell asleep in that dream world, I woke up in this world and had to go to school in this world. So it was literally, I had 2 lives I was living. It was horrible. Now, there was other times, though, where I was supposed to wake up in this world, and that's when I would have out-of-body experiences. My consciousness and my spirit, basically, they would be awake, but my body was not. My eyes would be closed, but I could still see everything. I could get up out of my body, walk around my room. Now, this sounds really cool, and it was at first, until certain things started happening, such as what are known as night terrors. Night terrors are like when you have this feeling that something is sitting on your chest, and you become paralyzed and you can't move. Sometimes you can't breathe, you can't speak, you can't scream, you can't do anything. You are completely paralyzed. And it's a horrible feeling, it's scary, and it drains your energy like nobody's business. If you wake up from a night terror, the whole day you will feel like you just ran a freaking marathon. You will just feel completely drained. Spiritually, mentally, you'll be grouchy probably. It's not a good thing. The other thing is that sometimes when you have out-of-body experiences, you can't get back into your body. You struggle with trying to reconnect your soul, to your body. So like, if you think about it, your hand is like this and you're trying to get your hand to go in and bring it up, but it won't go up. Your hand just keeps coming out like a ghost, coming out of like a body. That's what it's like. And that is extremely draining as well because it gives you anxiety, especially if you're going to be late for school or for work or anything like that. Also, it's scary because you hope that your body will continue to breathe and that you won't die, because there's a part of you that thinks, wow, if I don't get back in my body, I'm going to be dead. So that's not good either. These are kind of the not so cool parts of out-of-body experiences. The cool part is, of course, the fact that you can walk around without your body, you can see things, and then, of course, if you test it like I did a couple times. One test was as I was having an out-of-body experience, I saw my 2 brothers. My older brother came over to our house, picked up my younger brother, and they went golfing. And my younger brother was wearing a golfing outfit. It was pretty funny. He's a very funny kid. And when he came home, he was wearing something different. Now, I had already woken up in real life, and I was done with my out-of-body experience. And I asked him, were you wearing this? And he says, yeah. And So I hadn't seen him. I was locked in my room. So how could I know? Do you get what I mean? That proved to me that I was having things like that. I would prove to myself that my experiences were real. So you have this vessel, this aura, this energy field, metaphorically, so we can make this very simple. Let's call that your cup. You are a cup that holds 100 units of life energy, and let's call that water. So your cup is your energy field, your magnetic energy field, or your body, okay? And it's your spiritual body, let's say, and your energy in this metaphor is water inside the cup, okay? So now, because it costs energy, it takes energy for us to live. Death also says at the moment of your birth, not only am I going to give you 100 units that I will then take back at the end of your life, but I'm going to give you an additional 5 units of energy every day to live off of. If you sleep right and eat healthy, these 5 units should be more than enough for you to go throughout your day and live. If not, then you will draw from the 100 units that are in your cup, and you will live and use those. So you guys understand, right? So you have this storage unit, and if you need more than 5 units to live your day, which he gives you, then you will scoop into those. So there has to be a way, for it to be fair, that you can also gain more energy than 5. And I believe that things like coffee, exercise, health, meditation, prayer, these things give you more than 5 because they allow you to live more economically with your energy and your spirit, so more efficiently with your time and your spiritual energy, and therefore you won't use up so much of the 5 that you're given to live every day. On top of that, I believe that you can actually get extra units. So instead of getting 5, let's say you get 6 a day. That way you can kind of pay off the debt if you have, some days where you used more than the 5 units you were given. I hope this is all making sense, and you can probably understand now why I wanted to use illustrations. But it just was taking way too long, and they sucked anyway, so why deal with that? Use your imagination as best you guys can. Now, this is really important, so I hope you guys are rolling along, and I have no energy and I'm super tired, and like I said, I'm getting over an illness, so I hope you guys are staying with me on this. Okay, so here we go. You get these 5 units, you have the ability to store more. Now, here's where the issues of life happen. The human condition. We experience pain and suffering, sadness, depression, and so forth. I want you to imagine this spiritual cup that you are, and the water inside is that life energy. Now, I want you to imagine a scenario. Let's say that one day Dad says he's going to go out and get ice cream for the family. He gets in the car and he goes to get ice cream, but he never comes back. He just left the family. That's it. No word, no rhyme, no reason. He just left. You have to deal with this the rest of your life. Now, of course, as a child, you're thinking you did maybe something wrong. Daddy left me. Did I make Daddy mad? He yelled at me the other day. Wow, maybe I shouldn't have spilled that milk on the new rug. Maybe Daddy would have never left. Like, these are the psychological things that we would do to ourselves based upon Daddy leaving. Imagine a pin in your hand, a needle, and you poke the cup. Daddy leaving caused this emotional drain. It caused this emotional wound, okay? That's the needle poking the cup. If you have a hole in a cup, what happens to the fluid inside of it? It drains down until it gets to just below the hole, right? So when we experience life, it hurts, and we end up getting wounded. We end up getting these pains from these circumstances, as I just explained an example of. What we end up learning as we grow older is we begin to learn to put a Band-Aid over that hole and defend that hole with our entire being. Why do we do this? Because if somebody, let's say, comes along and says, hey, did you have a good Father's Day? And then that's like putting their finger in the wound and just making it fester or pouring some salt into it. You're like, I don't have it, Daddy. My daddy left to go get ice cream and never came back. And you start to feel crappy about that whole memory. It comes back up and surfaces again. So that's like opening and ripping off the Band-Aid again. Do you get what I mean? And now the energy is pouring out of there as you become depressed. You feel your energy leaving you. Does this make sense? This is just a theoretical, but does this make sense? I hope so. So what do? Well, you only have two choices, really, right? You put a Band-Aid over it. What is a Band-Aid? Push it deep, deep, deep into your subconscious and forget about it. Because as long as it's not on the surface, it's not draining you, okay? But it's always there potentially to hurt you again when somebody touches it, okay? That's putting a Band-Aid on it. Now, the other thing is you can defend the living crud out of it, and if somebody even gets near it, somebody mentions dad, you're just like, don't even talk about dads. You don't know anything about dads. You don't have, and you just, you know how people just like go off on tangents when you say like one thing, and you're like, whoa, where did that come? You know, cowboy, relax. So that's the kind of defense. Like they put this wall up and they keep themselves spiritually or emotionally separated from the world because they have all these wounds that they don't dare want somebody to keep fresh or make fresh. So they found that it's easier to just push the world away and keep everybody at arm's length so nobody dares touch their wounds. Does this make sense? This is in an effort to maintain their joy, or what they think is joy, but basically their sanity, and maintain their spiritual energy. All right? But it's a constant battle. Now, you know from video number 5, I talked about recapitulation, this ability to forgive those who have hurt us, to forgive them for what they've done, forgive you for what you did to other people, and of course to forgive yourself for allowing people to hurt you. Because in reality, in this scenario where dad left to go get ice cream and never came back, did he really leave the entire family because you spilt milk on the carpet? No. There was a lot of also, there must have been some other things that were pretty crazy that a child obviously just doesn't fully understand. Maybe, you know, the wife and him were not getting along. Maybe he found another lover and he just couldn't deal with the guilt. Whatever it was, chances are it had nothing to do with the child that caused him to run away, let's say. But we put that upon ourselves. That makes us responsible. That's why the final stage of recapitulation is you must forgive yourself for having such a big ego that you think the whole world and all the bad and good that surrounds you is because of you. That's just not the case. When somebody does something, or bottom line is, other people's opinions don't validate your existence. Period. You do not exist because other people approve you. You exist because God approved you, because God said that you will play a role in his masterpiece of life. And even when other people say you're broken or a mistake or you're made wrong, that's just not true. Because if every piece fit the world the exact same way, there'd be no beauty to it. There'd be no design to it. And the fact that we are all different, and there is currently 7 billion of us on the planet when I'm making this video, and there is not one of us who is truly alike to another, that's beauty. And that is the beauty of life. That's the beauty of God's creation, and that's the beauty of us. When we realize that and love ourselves in such a way, we're able to forgive ourselves for having the ego that said, I'm the reason for my pain. I'm the reason why somebody else needed to hurt me. I'm the reason why, somebody else can't forgive me. We have to forgive all of it, and then we're set free from it all. And this is recapitulation. Now I'm going to explain how recapitulation ties into the cup. Instead of you having a Band-Aid on the cup and having a need to defend it all the time and keep people at arm's length away from you so they don't touch the wound, you actually, through recapitulation, heal the cup. There no longer needs to be a Band-Aid because the material that makes up the cup actually grows back and the hole is sealed. Does this make sense? So now here's what's cool about this. Now the energy that it takes to heal the wound is the same energy that you use to live your daily life. So if you were to understand that the water inside your cup, which is your spiritual life force, can be manipulated or changed and become the cup. I'm going to say that again. The water that fills the cup is energy, right? If you realize that you can change and manipulate that energy for it to become the cup, you realize that you can heal the cup and you no longer need Band-Aids and you no longer need the world to stay at arm's length. You can say, come close, come hug me. I might have a scar. It might be a little bit of a rub when you touch my scar. I'm touching right here because that's where my scar from my pacemaker is, ironically enough. But you might have a scar and you might say, hey, that doesn't hurt anymore, but it's a reminder of what happened there, but it's healed now. That's the difference between a scar and a Band-Aid. Now, if your cup is totally healed, you don't have that energy leaking out all the time. Okay, which means you don't have to sit there and defend it. And to defend something takes more energy. And the more wounds that you have, you'll notice the more wounded somebody is spiritually or physically, the more they seem to lack energy, right? They lack spiritual energy, daily energy, right? But people who are confident and solid and love themselves, they're like, whatever, I'm good to go. So this experience I'm talking about, when you heal the cup, just hole by hole by hole through forgiveness, you end up realizing that now that the cup is full and let's say that you fill up all the way to the top, if you were to get one extra unit that day that you didn't need to use because your cup is full, what happens to the unit? It flows over. It will spill over the edge of the cup and it will just be wasted. You didn't use it, so you lost it. The next day you're going to get another 5 units and you'll live off of that. But what if you understood that as you use the material to patch the hole, you can use the material to make the rim of the cup grow higher? So just, let's say, atom level or centimeter by centimeter, the cup grows a little bit at a time. Now, as you grow the cup, okay, what does that mean? It means you can hold more units. So now you've learned to live economically. You've learned to patch your holes through forgiveness. Economically meaning you're eating right, you're exercising, you're doing meditation and yoga or whatever spiritual things, prayer, whatever it is that you do to make yourself whole and have more energy spiritually and through life. And now you have more energy at the end of your day. So if you use that energy to fill your cup that's also growing, at the end of your life, death comes and says, I want my 100 units back. So you give the 100 units back whether you like it or not. But now you've lived a life that was impeccable. Remember that word, impeccable. You lived a life that was impeccable, so you actually have energy of your own that's still stored up. Death doesn't get to claim this. You get to claim it. Now, through living your life impeccably and through the art of dreaming, like I have discussed in these videos, you are able to give consciousness to that energy. The energy becomes aware of itself. The third eye opens up. Okay, you see what I'm saying here? Hopefully this all makes sense. You become one with the universe. You become aware of your universal self. The energy is the universe. It's the oneness of all living things, but you give consciousness to it. So it's not just energy that's vibrating around in the universe, but you're able to give that identity. Does this make sense? It's aware of itself through meditation, through heightened awareness, and through connecting to the universe while you're in this form. Now when death comes and takes that 100 units from you, your leftover units, whatever it is, 1 or 50, maintains its consciousness, which is you. This is the highest form of spiritual levels that one could obtain through paganism, shamanism, or New Ageism. If you could achieve this, you have truly achieved the highest level. This is what is known as man becomes God. Because your consciousness breaks off a piece of what is God, energy, and it in of itself now is self-sustained. You do not need the universe to sustain you anymore. You don't need the angel of death to say, I approve you living, because the angel of death can come and say, I take back what is mine, but you're still remaining. This is the ultimate achievable goal, let's just say, theoretically, okay? Why is that important? Because as you do these things, you will begin to have out-of-body experiences. You will begin to have astral projections. So, now that you understand this concept, I think we can end the video here. I think that's enough. Hopefully I didn't lose you. As you guys can see, this is exactly why I wanted to use illustrations. If you are a 3D renderer or an artist or something like that, and you guys want to make illustrations for this, if you think you understand what I was saying and you want to help out those who might be struggling with visualizing what I talked about, please. If you do the artwork, I will remake the video. I'll just post it with your animation or your visuals, and I'll give you the credit and hyperlink to a website of yours or whatever to promote your artwork. If we have more than one submission, then I'll just pick the one that I think really fit the best of what I'm trying to describe, and you will get that. If not, then hopefully everybody through your own imagination and through my description understands. Again, I thank you guys for putting up with this video since I am kind of still fighting and getting over the flu. My energy is quite low. I'm sure I wasn't even 1/10 as animated as I normally am with my normal energy level. But I hope you guys enjoyed video number 6. If you guys would give the thumbs up, put the link on your social networks. Visit us at Truth Me Free at Facebook, which is facebook.com/truthmefree. I appreciate your patience, and you guys, ye shall know the truth, and it shall set you free. Even if it's wacky, crazy, and zany, but once you know it, it will empower you, and you will know the magician's tricks, and that way when the magician does his tricks on you, you won't be tricked by it. That's the whole point of video number 6 and 7. I hope you're going to get that by the end of video 7. Thank you guys very much. Thank you for watching. I'm Nathan Wheeler. God bless.